There are no limitations, you can manifest any SP regardless of the circumstance. However, with my first SP, he cheated on me. This was due to old harmful limiting beliefs. Everyone is you pushed out. For months I went no contact, but I wanted him back. I did see some movement, but he was still with 3P and making excuses, so eventually I gave up. It was one of the bigger manifestations I had, that did just not happen in 3D, and I could not figure out why for months. I manifest everything else, why can't I have this? I would sob. I really got all sad thinking I'd never get over this guy, and he was the one that got away. Then I realized, I'm simply not the type of person that can move past cheating even if everyone is you pushed out, or if I use techniques like revision and yada yada. I just couldn't accept or assume the state that we could get back together and things would be right as rain. Okay, let's be honest, yes I could, but deep down I really didn't want to. My ideal partner was someone who chose me first, and loved me so much that cheating on me was never an option to begin with. My new SP entered my life right when I made this realization, and he is pretty much everything that I'd been wanting to manifest in my former SP. So take it from me. Let go and don't give up. Once you are 100% sure of what you want, the rest will all fall into place. Trust that you will always get your manifestations, exactly the way you want in the end, and it will be perfect for you. My original SP did try to reconnect with me after months, but I declined as I was already in a relationship with my new SP by then, and was not interested anymore. I discovered the law while trying to get an ex-SP back a few years back. I had my first success story and a couple more successes, like growing taller and getting money. One of the only manifestations I never actually stopped practicing was my mantra of, things always end up working out for me. I had a lot of close calls and situations where things should have gone wrong for me, and yet somehow things seem to get solved almost magically, since I made that a core belief. A couple examples are: I was drunk, crashed my car one time, and the other car got damage worth about $200. We exchanged numbers and he said he'd be reaching out the following week and send me the bill. I really couldn't afford it at the time since I was paying for school. He never ended up calling me. I stupidly spent money on really dumb stuff, like new shoes, partying around with my friends, constantly maxed my credit card, even though I didn't have the money for it, but every time enough money just somehow came to me effortlessly. Like this one time my friend offered to rent my car out of nowhere because he was doing a road trip, and knew I wasn't gonna use it. Another time I found the equivalent of $100 on the ground, etc. This actually made my bad spending habit worse for a while, since I knew I would magically get money anyways. I never got too crazy with it though. I got lost and walked around one of the worst neighborhoods at 3 a.m. while drunk, the kind of place where bodies are dumped. Absolutely nothing happened to me. It was super effortless, and for about 2 years, I lived my dream relationship in life, up until I turned 18, where I became very cynical and stopped practicing the law, got into the, well, it would have happened anyway mentality. Broke up with my GF, dated around a lot, got into college and had a lot of ups and downs. I became a skeptic, because things seemed to not be going the right way for me, and I figured this stuff was just a lie, and didn't work. I felt like I had just deluded myself all this time. About 1 year ago I had my breaking point, after many failed personal goals, business ventures, struggling with nicotine addiction, dropping out of college, and just being in a very bad spot in my life. I decided enough was enough. I remembered how easily everything came to me when I practiced the law a few years back, so I started studying again. I had bought the complete reader after my first success story, so I whipped it out again and read it about 10 times in the span of 3 months, taking notes about everything. I also listened to Neville's lectures every morning. When I was 16 I never managed to do SOTs, instead I just did mental diets, but honestly it was pretty exhausting to me, and part of what made me quit last time, so I figured I'd attempt SOTs again. It took me about 2 weeks of just falling asleep randomly until I finally started to get good at it. I almost never browsed, just focused on my own personal journey and understanding of the law. I also stayed away from gurus, as I feel like most water down the original message. I got SOTs down to a science. There isn't a single night now where I don't go to bed visualizing and feeling myself in the state of my dream life, and slowly but surely, the 3D reflects that reality. I never get impatient anymore, or wonder why isn't it coming? What's taking so long? My first newfound success was getting a job. I applied without having any real qualifications other than speaking English, a very valuable skill here in Mexico. I just knew I'd get it, because in my mind it was meant to happen. There is no other way around it. Simple, effortless, got it. Following that, I decided to get my dream body. Every morning in the mirror I'd visualize it. I had gotten fat and my skin was bad. Now this did take some action, of course. I had to hit the gym and diet, but it just felt natural to do so. My trash food cravings stopped and instead I craved eggs, sardines, and water. My skin also got cleared a lot. Boom, done. Next it was sorting out my love life again. I was never a dating many girls kind of guy, but I said fuck it. Honestly, I'm young and I can do whatever I want. This is my reality. Currently I am, non-exclusively of course, I'm not a cheater, talking to 3 girls, 2 that were my crushes for years and had previously said they just wanted to be friends, and honestly, it feels great. Next up was what I deemed impossible, becoming an actually good musician. It was my frustrated dream for many years, same steps taken as everything else, visualized it, situations came effortlessly that made me move towards that goal, and now I'm doing a gig at one of the biggest restaurants here in about 1 month. There have been other smaller successes, but those are the main ones, and the ones that were the most limiting for me back when I started. Now, was that rational? The world will say that was the most irrational thing that one can do, so what is reason? The office of reason is simply to extract conclusions from premises. Must my premises always be based upon the evidence of my senses? Must they always dictate what is rational to me? Well, having done this, and proved it to be a fact, reason doesn't mean to me what it means to the world. I am on my journey manifesting marriage with this one guy I've been in a relationship with for 9 months earlier this year, but I want to tell you the story of how I manifested him in the first place last year because it is a great example of how the law works for you perfectly even if you are not aware of it. Won't dive into the old story too much, but long story short, I was head over heels in love with this one guy for 1 whole year. At that time he used to be a huge fuckboy, very emotionally distant, and overall took not much interest in me. Now I understand that it was me who was aware of him being that way, so I created that negative version of him. I already knew about law of assumption at that time but thought of it like it was some woo-woo magic thing. I did scripting, affirming, visualizing occasionally, and even some weird methods like the whisper method. It did somehow bring us a little bit closer together. We would hang out and stuff, but the chemistry just wasn't there. I was very overwhelmed, obsessive and sad all the time. Eventually I confessed my feelings to him, cried my heart out, and we decided to cut all our contact. He said that he was just not interested in a relationship with anyone and thought of it as just a waste of time. Although I was shattered, I decided to just let it go and see if something better was on its way to me. And boy, there was. So one day, I was just scrolling through Instagram Reels and there was a video about SOTS and Neville Goddard. It claimed that this technique would bring your desire to you in 3 days. I took interest in it, and decided to try that out. So everything I knew about it was basically to loop a short imaginary scene implying that you have gotten your desire already. To ignore the 3D, so I did 3 nights of a short scene of him telling me I am very happy that we got into a relationship, and then 3 nights of a scene where I was overhearing his 2 best friends talking about how happy he was in a relationship with me. Only 6 days of SOTS. Also, I unknowingly did revision one day when I saw him walking into a coffee shop with some girl. It was obvious that they were on a date, but I just told myself I don't care. They weren't on a date, they were not together, and by the way, they don't even know each other, and went on with my say, and I can assure you it worked. Even though I had no idea about this technique. I then kind of forgot about all of that and moved on with my life, focused on myself, had fun with my friends and just detached. Keep in mind, I wasn't perfect like at all. I sometimes missed him very much. I used to get sad that my friends were having relationships but I didn't. I even had moments when I would cry because of our separation. I guess I kind of was in the state of lack. But I had this weird feeling that someday, somehow, me and him will end up together. Here comes the best part. 2 months after we cut all contact, a crazy bridge of incidents I had no idea about brought us to meet up, and 2 weeks later he asked me to be his girlfriend. After that we were in a great relationship, like truly a perfect one. He treated me like a princess. The weirdest thing out of it is the drastic change in his personality that took place. Like, it was insane. All his friends were in shock. It was very out of character for him to get into a relationship with a girl, be committed and loyal, and give her princess treatment. Trust me when I say this, because I used to deal with that shitty version of him. I promise you I couldn't believe my eyes. I even asked him one day what made him want a relationship with me, and he told me that he just got that intuitive feeling that I was the right one for him, and he felt like something inside of him was guiding him to me. Keep in mind, I wasn't even his type at the time, but he felt a strong urge he couldn't explain to just be with me. Craziest part is that when I asked him when did he first felt that, he told me that it was around the time I did those 6 days of SOTs. That's what everybody wants to know. That's what your SP feels when you are manifesting them. There is always movement behind the scenes. Sadly, as I knew nothing about the law over the time, because of my really shitty self-concept, I caused him to break up with me after 9 months, but it's fine because now I have enough knowledge of the law to not only get him back, but to also create a beautiful marriage with him because I truly know that he is the love of my life and I'm working on it right now. To sum up, this is the perfect example of how once you've impressed your subconscious mind, you will no matter what receive your desire. First, you work for your subconscious mind and shortly after, it works for you. Don't ever overcomplicate it or overthink it. If I was able to do it, you too will be able to do this. We are all gonna make it. Have faith in the unseen reality. I want to share my manifestation journey of how I got back with my SP, now boyfriend. And hope that my story inspires many of you just like many stories in this community inspired me. I have been into manifestation for many years, first with the law of attraction, the main we all know. I read many books, listen to podcasts, did affirmations, etc. and I did manifest many things in my life way before I knew about the law of assumption and Neville. In my opinion, Neville's teachings made sense. I bought his books, listened to so many stories from coaches, YouTube videos and listened to his lectures, etc. Everything that he teaches makes so much sense to me. I also started to get into quantum jumping, metaphysics, listened to Dr. Joe Dispenza, Florence Scovel Shinn, another manifester in the 1800s. Anyway, the point is that they all teach the same thing in common: your mind creates your reality, everything is you pushed out. It took me so long to understand this until I had my experience with my SP. Don't want to bore you with how we started, but basically we broke up. It was painful, I was confused because it happened out of the blue, during an argument, but it wasn't anything that could have triggered a breakup. I was devastated, I cried, I meditated, affirmed, scripted, did the 55x5 method, literally everything. I even came back here to read more stories in hope of feeling understood and thought maybe there is something else I need to do. Basically it was coming from fear and desperation. The two things that are a no, to manifest what we desire. I gave myself some grace because we are all humans and we have emotions and it's okay to cry. In fact, cry it all out, get angry, whatever you need to do to release, and then you start from scratch with a new energy. That's what I did. I said to myself that enough was enough and that I am the creator of my reality, that I choose who stays and who goes. I am the director of my movie and in my movie there is the happy ever after period. So after 2 weeks of no contact and doing all the shit show in my head, back and forth, I decided to let it go. I have my intentions, so I scripted per usual and only when I felt it. I did not want to force it. I scripted in the present tense as if I already had my desire, which was I'm back with my SP. I'm so grateful that I am in a happy, loving, committed relationship with my SP. We are so happy together. He loves me so much. I am his dream girl, I am the prize, I am everyone's dream girl. He always comes back to me no matter what, because there is no one better than me. I am the best thing that has ever happened in his life. Etc. etc. Many of these affirmations were also part of self-concept. I worked on that as well. Then I just let go and said to the universe that it is already done. I tried to be happy, go out with friend, dress up cute to work, all the things. I did have some bad days, but I learned to quickly switch my negative thought and say to myself, the 3D does not matter, this is from the old version that no longer exists. We are already happy together. By the way, I never contacted him, no matter how sad I felt on other days. I tried to put myself on the pedestal as soon as these negative thoughts came back. A week later, he reached out, wanted to grab dinner and talk. I knew what it was, I manifested this. He apologized, told me he was in love with me and repeated certain things I scripted as well. Now we are back together and we are the happiest ever.